Bambu Lab A1 promises plug and play, high speed, multicolor 3D printing that just works. Either we have finally reached stress-free, push-button printing for normal people, or we are staring at an overhyped, cloud-locked money pit. On paper it sounds wild. Up to 500 millimeters per second, auto-calibration for flow, vibration, and bed leveling, 4-color printing with the AMS light, and a 256 by 256 by 256 build volume in a relatively compact footprint. But here's the thing. Specs are easy to print on a product page. Living with the machine is a whole different story. I have actually been running the Bambu Lab A1 in my studio for the last 6 weeks, hammering it with functional parts, multi-color prints, and long jobs. I have put the direct link to check current pricing in the description. But before you click anything, let me show you what I discovered after a solid month and a half of testing. So, what does the A1 actually claim to do? Bambu markets this as a next-gen, fast, quiet, beginner-friendly printer that still satisfies nerds like me. The main promises are near plug-and-play setup with automatic calibration and first layer dialing itself in, insane speed, up to 500 per second with input shaping and pressure advance right out of the box. True multicolor and multi-material capability when you pair it with the AMS light. Smart app-connected ecosystem with live monitoring, automatic updates, and cloud slicing. Sounds almost too convenient, right? A bedslinger that keeps up with fancy Core XY machines and does multicolor on top of that. But here's where things get interesting. Reality check. Let's start with the speed claim. They say 500 per second. What you actually get in real world, good quality prints is more like 250 to 300 per second for most profiles. Here's why. At higher speeds, the nozzle just cannot push enough plastic and maintain detail without crazy ringing and under extrusion. Bambu knows this, so their default profiles are tuned to be fast but not the full marketing number. Is it still fast? Absolutely. Compared to a tuned Ender-style machine, I was seeing 2 to 3 times faster print completion on the same benchy and functional brackets. But that 500 number is more theoretical than daily reality. They also claim plug and play. Out of the box, I was printing within about 25 minutes, including unboxing, assembly, and firmware updates. That part is legit. The A1 runs a whole calibration sequence: vibration compensation, flow rate tuning, bed leveling, Z offset. You do not have to touch a feeler gauge or shim the bed. But let's be real here. It is not magically error-proof. On day 3, I had a clogged nozzle from some cheap PLA, and clearing it still required basic 3D printing knowledge. This is not a microwave. It is still a tool. Next claim. Multicolor with the AMS light. On the marketing page it looks flawless. 4 colors, automatic filament switching, smart humidity control. What you actually get is very cool results at the cost of a lot of wasted filament and time. Every color change involves purging filament into a waste chute. On a detailed multi-color logo I printed, nearly 20% of the filament ended up as purge waste. The print looked fantastic, but that is not free. Also, when filament is slightly brittle or wound poorly, the AMS light can misfeed. I had 2 failures on long jobs thanks to tangles. So yes, it works, but it is not magic. Now the elephant in the room. Reliability and safety. Early A1 units had that infamous Hotend PTFE issue where the liner could deform at high temps. Bambu has pushed out redesigned Hotend components and free replacements. The unit I tested is the updated design, and after running PETG and some brief ASA at higher temperatures, I did not see any creep or scorching. But if you are buying used or old stock in 2025, you need to confirm you are getting the revised Hotend, or budget for the all-metal upgrade. Finally, the cloud ecosystem. Bambu sells this as a smart, seamless experience. Send jobs from your phone, monitor with the camera, get firmware updates automatically. The reality is, It is extremely convenient, as long as you are okay with your printer being pretty dependent on their servers. Offline modes exist. You can use SD or LAN-only slicing, but all the polish lives in the Bambu Studio plus Cloud combo. If their servers go down or their policies change, you feel it. That is a trade-off you have to be consciously okay with. Let's break down a few key areas. Print quality. Straight up, this is where the A1 earns its hype. Out-of-the-box profiles produce layer lines that rival what I get from much more expensive machines. Input shaping and flow tuning kill most ringing and ghosting. On fine detail minis at 0.12 layer height, I got crisp edges and very little stringing using default settings. Compared to a stock budget printer, it is night and day. Speed and noise. I measured around mid-40s dB at my desk while printing a fast PLA profile, more of a soft whoosh than a grinding roar. Not silent, but way quieter than the average bed slinger running at half the speed. High-speed prints do produce some resonance and fan noise, but it's absolutely apartment-friendly. Build and usability. The frame is solid, motion system feels tight, and the toolhead design makes nozzle swaps relatively straightforward. The touchscreen UI is actually good. Clear menus, meaningful error messages, and you can trigger all calibrations with a couple taps. What the marketing does not emphasize is how locked in you are to their ecosystem. Bambu Studio is great, but it is not as open as something like Prusa Slicer. Profiles are tuned, but tinkering beyond their guardrails can be clunky. Ecosystem and red flags. Here's what nobody tells you. Once you buy into Bambu, you tend to stay there. The AMS light, the slicer profiles, their filament with RFID tags, it all nudges you to keep buying within the ecosystem. That is not switching, that is expensive comfort. Also, a deep dive into user reviews across multiple sites shows a pattern. When things work, people are ecstatic. When something breaks, you are in ticket and parts replacement land, not local service. Support is generally responsive, but you are still doing the surgery yourself. So, verdict time. Is the Bambu Lab A1 worth the investment in 2025? For most people who want a fast, mostly hassle-free, high-quality 3D printer and are okay joining a semi-walled garden, I would say recommended. It is not the cheapest, especially once you add the AMS light, but the time you save and the failure rate you avoid can absolutely justify the price compared to cheaper, fiddlier machines. The main downsides: cloud reliance, ecosystem lock-in, purge waste on multicolor, and the history of early hardware issues. If you want a totally open, tinker-heavy setup, look at something like a Prusa MK4 or a Voron build instead. For everyone else, the A1 is one of the few printers that actually feels like a tool, not a hobby project. Stay savage out there. If this review saved you from wasting money or helped you find something actually worth buying, I have put the link to check current pricing and read more real user reviews in the description. And hey, if you do decide to buy through my link, it helps fund these deep dive investigations without costing you anything extra. Drop a comment if you want me to compare the A1 directly against the P1S or the latest Creality speed machines, and hit subscribe so you do not miss that breakdown. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep your prints sharp and your spending smarter.